Sometimes I use fire to smoke out hornets.
In a remote area, far from the noise of busy streets and city life, an older woman named Mrs. Parker lives alone. Her barn is rented out to a quiet and solitary man named Clay, who spends his days tending to his bees and asking very little of the world around him. One afternoon, while managing her finances on her laptop, Mrs. Parker receives a warning notification about a virus on her computer. Feeling alarmed, she calls the number on the screen. That call connects her straight into a phishing operation. The man running it, a sharp and calculating scammer named Garnett, happens to be training new recruits at that very moment and decides to use Mrs. Parker as a live example for everyone in the room. He speaks to her in a calm and gentle tone, explaining that the notification is linked to a software package already on her laptop that simply needs a quick update. Since Mrs. Parker is not comfortable with technology, Garnett kindly offers to handle it remotely. All she needs to do is download a small program called Friendly Friend and grant him access to her screen. She does exactly that. The moment she does, Garnett mutes the call and puts her entire screen on display for his trainees. Her checking account, life insurance, pension, and most valuable of all, a charity account holding $2 million. He begins draining everything immediately, while Mrs. Parker still suspects nothing at all. Garnett keeps his voice warm and reassuring throughout the whole thing. To push the trap even further, he tells her the company wants to refund her subscription fee as a goodwill gesture and will transfer it directly to her account. When she logs in to check, she sees $50,000 sitting there. Completely convinced it is real, she tries to wire it back using her master password. That is precisely the moment Garnett was waiting for. In seconds, every single account she owns is completely wiped out. When her screen comes back, the money is simply gone. Her phone floods with fraud alerts, and the devastating truth slowly crashes down on her. Out in the barn, Clay has finished with his hives and set aside a jar of fresh honey for Mrs. Parker as he always does. That evening he walks over to deliver it, but nobody answers the door. He lets himself in. The fire alarm is blaring, and something feels deeply wrong. Moving through the rooms, he finds a fired gun lying on the floor.
Don't you fucking move.
Before he can process it, he is confronted at gunpoint by Verona, Mrs. Parker's daughter, who arrived to find her mother gone. Clay explains himself quietly. He rents the barn and came only to bring honey. His story checks out. When Verona pulls up her mother's accounts and finds them completely emptied, the picture begins to take shape. The GSR test comes back negative for Clay, and the fingerprints on the gun belong only to Mrs. Parker. There is only one explanation that fits. Verona apologizes for the harsh welcome, though under the circumstances it was understandable. Wanting to know more about the man her mother lived beside, she invites him in for coffee. During the conversation, she mentions that Clay reminded her mother of her late brother, a former Marine raider, whom her mother always praised far more than she ever praised Verona, even after Verona graduated from the FBI Academy. Verona then tells Clay that someone drained every one of her mother's accounts. She was scammed. An agent from the cybercrimes office told her this same crew has been operating for years, and investigators still have no names. She doubts anyone will ever face justice for it. Clay listens and says that stealing from the elderly is like hurting a child, but in some ways worse, because there is no parent standing guard over them. When it happens, it either goes unnoticed or nobody acts on it. Verona swears she will do something about it. Clay excuses himself, saying he has the hive to attend to. But Clay is already acting. He quietly contacts a secret organization he once belonged to, known only as the Beekeepers, and asks for one thing: find Garnett's operation. The address comes back quickly. Clay arrives at the call center with 2 gas canisters. The security at the door tells him to leave. He tells them he is there to burn the place down, then takes both guards apart and walks straight inside. He gets the room's attention and tells everyone to repeat after him. I will never steal from the weak and the vulnerable again.
I will never steal from the weak, the vulnerable again.
The room responds with laughter. So Clay finds another way to make his point. A short while later, nobody is laughing. Once they all repeat the oath, he makes certain they will keep it by pouring gasoline across the floors and walls. Garnett tries to stop him.
You stomp his ass out, please?
Clay handles the 5 security guards without breaking stride.
Get him, you fucking get him!
Plants devices on the canisters set to trigger from the next incoming call and walks out. Seconds later, as another unsuspecting victim dials the number, the entire building explodes. At Danforth Enterprises in Boston, the arrogant young Derek Danforth receives a call from Garnett with the news. One man walked through their security and reduced a $30 million building to ash. And they have no idea who he is. Derek brings it to his advisor Wallace, a former CIA director, and asks him to quietly deal with it. Wallace wants no part of it. Derek tells Garnett to dig through their cloud records, trace anyone connected to recent activity, and handle it. When Verona arrives at the scene of the explosion, no one can identify who did it. She is quietly celebrating inside. Clay returns to his bees. But the calm does not last. Garnett arrives at Mrs. Parker's property with hired men. Spotting Clay driving off, he wants payback and opens fire on the beehives. Clay hears the shots, activates nearby machinery to mask the sound, and melts into the shadows. He lets the men advance and spread out, then moves through them silently one by one. They make the classic mistake of separating. With only Garnett left standing among his fallen crew, it is already over. Clay cuts off 2 of his fingers, leaves him alive, and sends him back to deliver the message himself. During her investigation, Verona gets an alert about a fire at her mother's property. When the bodies are identified, every one of them connects back to the same company. Everything clicks into place. Clay is behind all of it. Garnett calls Derek from a bridge, interrupting what appears to be some personal grooming session with nothing but bad news. He is mid-sentence trying to describe Clay as some kind of unstoppable beekeeper when Clay yanks him out of the car, straps him to the railing, and drops him over the side. Then Clay picks up the phone and tells Derek calmly that he is next. The color drains completely from Derek's face. Derek rushes back to Wallace, falling apart. He tells him a crazed beekeeper destroyed one of his 20 call centers and is now coming for him personally. The moment Wallace hears the word beekeeper, something shifts in him. He understands immediately what Derek has stumbled into. Derek cannot grasp why Wallace is so rattled by what sounds like one ordinary person. Wallace explains it plainly. A beekeeper is not an ordinary person. A beekeeper is a man of total focus, absolute commitment, and sheer will, things Derek knows nothing about. As a former CIA director, Wallace tells him there is genuinely nothing he can do. He wants out. The FBI is now building a broader picture. They are certain someone is behind all these fraudulent call centers, but Clay remains completely invisible to them. The only record tied to his name is a birth certificate. The only conclusion is that he must be connected to some deeply classified program. Meanwhile, Derek's mother Jessica calls Wallace, begging him to protect her son and offering more company shares. That changes things for Wallace. Wallace dials a number he is not supposed to call and mentions that his employer's actions have drawn the attention of a beekeeper. The person on the other end immediately understands the gravity of it. He needs help from someone named Janet. Shortly after, the Beekeeper program manager contacts Wallace to inform him that Clay is a retired agent and an active beekeeper is now stepping in. That does nothing to ease Wallace's mind. While Clay sits quietly with his honey, a car rams him from behind. A woman leaps out firing without hesitation. Clay is already clear before the bullets arrive. Police sirens do not slow her down at all. When Clay gets hold of her, she seems more amused than afraid. They fight and she is skilled, but she cannot match him unarmed. She reaches for a minigun and tears the entire gas station apart. Clay grabs his jar of honey and throws it at her, setting her on fire. He takes one of her fingers and drives away. Shortly after, the Beekeeper organization formally declares neutrality, leaving Wallace entirely on his own. The FBI catches up to Garnett's body and reaches the gas station scene. The woman is just as invisible as Clay. No records, no identity. But she has a book on beekeeping. The agents conclude Clay is heading to Boston. Wallace gathers former Special Forces operators and briefs them. The Beekeepers are a secret organization that even CIA directors have no clearance to know about. For decades, they have operated from the shadows with unlimited resources and full authority to act on their own judgment. Now, a retired beekeeper has gone rogue. Wallace admits individually these men are nothing compared to a beekeeper, but in large enough numbers they might stand a chance. Clay uses the woman's severed finger to access her private facility, gaining her full arsenal and intelligence network. He tracks down Derek's operations headquarters, loads up, and moves out. Verona briefs the FBI deputy director. 3 crime scenes connect back to Clay, who is tied to a classified program called Beekeeper. He is heading to Boston, and his next target is 9 Star United, which oversees all of Derek's global scam call centers. The director grants full funding for the response, something that almost never happens. The FBI SWAT team hits the building, but the private security has it completely locked down. They hold the perimeter outside. Every other entrance is examined and ruled out. Clay already knew there were none. He would have used one otherwise. Not wanting unnecessary casualties but left with no other path, Clay works through 15 armed officers with controlled precision and walks in through the front using one as a shield. Inside, mercenary commander Pettis tries to evacuate non-armed staff, but the ringleader, the Golden Goose, refuses to move. He calls Derek, who tears into Pettis for losing control. Nobody leaves. As the armed men file out to applause, Clay walks quietly among them. He grabs one and silences the floor. The Golden Goose still does not understand what is happening. When Pettis's men open fire, he finally hits the ground. Clay runs to the hallway and pulls himself into the ceiling. He leaves one man as bait and takes down 2 more. He triggers the fire alarm to cover his movements, gets hold of Pettis's weapon, neutralizes more operatives, disarms Pettis, and knocks him out with a fire extinguisher. Verona orders the remaining agents in from the street. Clay rigs wire traps for the next phase. When the mercenaries think they have him cornered in an elevator, he cuts the cable and drops everyone who rushed the doors along with it. The agents heading up take the stairs instead. With Pettis gone and the chain of command broken, the remaining mercenaries are scattered and exposed in the dark. Clay moves through them all and finishes the job. Then the Golden Goose is next. Using a stapler as a persuasion device, Clay asks who sits above him. He explains why he is doing this. They went after the only person who ever truly cared for him. The Golden Goose breaks and pulls up the names at the very top of the scheme. Verona reaches the floor and speaks directly with Clay. She tells him laws exist to handle exactly this kind of thing. Clay says there are things the law cannot reach, but he can. He slips away as agents flood in. Verona is left with the Golden Goose and his crew. Looking at the open laptop, she now knows exactly who Clay is heading for next. At a high-end restaurant, Derek is barely holding himself together. Wallace receives the update. Every mercenary is dead. Wallace suggests calling Derek's mother. Clay cannot act against someone inside the president's inner circle. Derek calls her immediately, not explaining the real situation, simply asking to visit. She agrees. Jessica Danforth is the President of the United States. There is no way Clay can go after someone that untouchable. Verona's contact at the agency quietly suggests that perhaps letting Clay finish what he started is not the worst outcome. Verona understands the argument, but cannot allow it regardless of how morally sound it might be. Verona briefs the FBI deputy director on the full picture. 9-Star United uses data mining software to identify people with no surviving family or heirs and systematically strips their assets. A second company connected to the operation has contracts with multiple U.S. government agencies. Both are owned and operated under Danforth Enterprises, founded by Jessica Danforth before she stepped down to become president. Only the 3 of them know this, and the deputy director wants it to stay that way. Because of Jessica's connection to the scam, Derek may not be the only one on Clay's list. The president herself is in danger. Security at the Danforth Beach House is among the tightest anywhere. Verona is there to make it tighter. Derek is inside relaxed with a drink. Wallace cannot stop pacing, unconvinced that even this level of protection is enough to stop one man. He has also brought in the most elite hired team he could find. One of them, Yellow, has killed a beekeeper before, though at a serious cost. Wallace is hoping that luck holds. Jessica is furious nobody warned her sooner about what was truly at stake. Secret Service has gone as far as welding shut every manhole around the estate and thoroughly checking every vehicle entering the grounds. Clay comes through the sewer system. The welded manhole lid does not stop him. He surfaces beneath a parked car, gets inside, and moves toward the property. One agent spots him before he can get clear, but Clay incapacitates him silently and takes his place. Now he has the perfect cover to walk straight in. Yellow's kill squad arrives and the property becomes perhaps the most fortified location on Earth. But the explosives Clay already placed were set long before any of that extra security arrived. He changes into a suit and blends in with the guests. Verona watches the deputy director pull Jessica aside and understands she is being told the truth. Jessica takes Derek into a private room. The deputy director raises concerns about the illegal money flows and directs the question to Derek as the man who ran the business. Derek becomes visibly uncomfortable. Clay moves through the property looking for his targets when Verona spots him. He gives her a nod. She immediately alerts every Secret Service agent in the building. Yellow's squad closes in as well. Clay is surrounded outside with weapons trained on him from every direction. He appears to be surrendering. Then, everyone notices what is in his hand. Wallace signals for an immediate execution. Clay detonates the vehicles. The explosion creates enough chaos for him to take down several agents and get inside the building. Yellow is still in the fight. Clay takes an agent hostage to ensure safe passage through the building. Outside, he dismantles the kill squad one by one, closing in on his target. Inside the private room, Jessica blames everything on Derek. Derek fires back, reminding her that without his illegal campaign funding she never would have won the election. Jessica genuinely had no idea where the money came from. Derek never cared about that. He only needed the result. Clay moves through the remaining agents with every angle covered, nothing catching him off guard. Jessica decides she will tell Clay and the entire world the truth about what Derek did with the data mining software, regardless of what it costs her. Clay is nearly at the room when Yellow steps in to block him. The two go at it hard, throwing each other into walls and furniture. Yellow is as dangerous as advertised. But Clay does not stop. Yellow's missing leg turns out to be the deciding factor. Yellow goes down. Verona may be the only person Clay holds any genuine softness for. While Clay pauses to address a wound, Wallace makes one final appeal. He tells Clay he has proven his point and can still walk away and return to a quiet life. Clay tells him plainly they are far past that. This is personal. He plants a claymore on the door and sits Wallace down. Clay blows the door open and enters. Derek immediately shoots the deputy director and grabs his mother as a shield. Verona arrives at the same moment and a standoff forms. Clay looks directly at Verona and asks her to choose the law or justice. Then he puts one bullet into Derek and walks out.
Bye, Mom.
The president is unharmed. Verona has a clear shot. She does not take it. She chooses justice. Clay gives her one final look before disappearing completely. Somewhere nearby, a change of clothes and swimming gear are already waiting for him. And just like that, he is gone.